You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Please remember that the information I share in this podcast is based on my personal and professional experience and is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not individualized skincare advice, nor is it medical advice. I encourage you to take charge of your own health decisions and listen to your body, seeking out the resources and professionals that best support your wellness journey. Welcome in. I'm so grateful that we get to connect and spend this time together today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited for this episode because I'm just so lit up. I love this topic. I love the activity that I'm about to walk you through. I'm getting prepared to do it myself this year, and it's just so good. It's such a beautiful, life-changing activity. It's truly one of the most important things that I think I do all throughout the year. It's a really big part of self-care for me. And I was going to originally share a replay today of episode 40, which is called The Art of Decluttering Your Life. But I decided that I wanted to share the new and updated version of this topic. And it's this thing that I do every year, and I call it the fall shed. And I've kind of already started the process a little bit, but this year it's going to be very drawn out, from now until the end of the year, so that I can just feel very grounded and secure and fresh when I enter the winter season, when I enter the new year. And I know it's so trendy on Instagram, or at least in the bubble that I have found myself in the past, to hate on the Gregorian New Year. A lot of people like to say that oh, it's not the real New Year. The real New Year starts in the spring, and that's fine. And I get it, but also I love New Year's. It's one of my absolute favorite holidays. I love the lead up to New Year. I just think it's such a wonderful feeling to just turn a fresh new page onto a fresh new year. And it's just a reminder that we always get another chance. And so as part of that celebration, as part of wanting to create some of that structure for myself, I love to do the fall shed. So I got this idea from a podcast that I used to listen to called the Almost 30 podcast, and they called it the Life Edit. And they took you through some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. But I've been doing this every year for quite a while, and I've built onto it over time and really made it my own. And I want to share what I've done with it, but I will also link the original episode of the Life Edit so that you can hear where I got my inspiration from and, make it your own in some way as well. So this episode is all about shedding former identities. The Life Edit is basically where you declutter your whole life, your physical space, your digital space, your social space. You go into every junk drawer, every closet, every corner that you're avoiding in your life and clear it out and organize and knock the proverbial cobwebs out. And I do like to do this as often as needed, not this whole process. I save this for the fall. But just, like going in and just whenever I want to feel lighter or a refresh, I will declutter and organize a small part of my life and get rid of what's not needed anymore so that I can open space for the things that I want to bring into my life. But fall specifically is a really powerful time to do this whole process. I mean, think about in nature, it's, rooting in, prepping so that it can prepare for rebirth. And that's what we're invited to do as well. We're invited to clear any stagnation so that creativity, abundance, vitality can all flow in. And in Chinese medicine, each season has an element, and fall aligns with the metal element. And this isn't just like totally symbolic. It was a way that ancient people noticed the profiles happening both in our body and in nature as the year shifts. And they were watching these very predictable patterns happening and just started mapping and recording frameworks based on what they were observing. So with that in mind, think about how metal is formed. It's through this intense pressure and purification, refinement. Raw ore is heated and the impurities are burned away so that a precious metal can be revealed. And so with the life edit, you're sorting out the impurities in your life to uncover the gold. So there's 6 areas of my life that I go through and declutter, and I'm prepping to do that now. I've already started one of them. But these 6 areas are your physical environment, your digital spaces, your financial life, social life and relationships, your time and your schedule, and then finally health and fitness. So I want to go through each of these with you and just tell you what I do and how I do it, and hopefully you'll gain some inspiration. Take what feels good, take what you like, and leave the rest. This is all about you making it your own. And like I said before, this is a lot about shedding former identities. And after these former identities are shed, it's so that our more true aligned version of ourself can come through. And so we'll start with the physical environment. So this is like closets, drawers, your garage, like totally, completely taking everything out of your garage, cleaning it, organizing, putting all the things back, getting rid of all of the stuff you do not need. Your basement, doing the exact same thing. When we have a space that's like a basement or a closet or a junk drawer that's just chronically cluttered and chaotic, it's on a psychological and spiritual level, it represents unprocessed, avoided, suppressed energy that's stagnant within us. So it's like this energetic congestion because clutter is going to block flow in our life. So just like with stagnant lymph or a blocked digestion, it's going to lead to physical issues. Stagnant spaces in our home are going to lead to things like anxiety and low motivation and feeling stuck in our lives, even like creative stagnation. And when we're leaving these cluttered spaces in our life, whether they be part of this physical area that I'm talking about right now, or even in like your financial life or other areas that I will get into, they're often like an avoidance strategy. So when we're getting into these stories, like I'll deal with that later. On a deeper level, it's a pattern of like, I'll deal with all of the other things, my dreams or my finances or my health, I'll deal with that later. And so it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so going in and addressing these areas, these big, maybe scary areas that you've been avoiding, you're rewriting a new identity for yourself. You're rewriting new stories for yourself. So areas of your kitchen, the bathroom. Oh, that's a big one I've got to deal with this year is my skincare clutter under my sink. Getting in with all of your personal cosmetics, cleaning out like in your shower if you have a bunch of bottles of shampoo or whatever that you don't use anymore, like getting rid of them. Going through bookshelves, baskets, wherever things are collected in the house. Another one for me that I'm a little afraid of addressing is my craft supplies, cleaning supply cabinets, all of these areas, getting into your pantry and your fridge and doing a reset, going through all of the food in your house, your supplements, throwing away supplements that are expired, or, checking out, like, are there things that you're not using anymore? Going through your office or your workspace, your filing cabinets. And as I'm saying all of this, if you're like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed just hearing you talk about this, this isn't something that you're doing in an afternoon. This is like you pick one thing, one small manageable thing to do at a time, and you space this out over a couple of months' time. You could do just a small fall shed if you want. If you just want to, like, your kitchen is how you're doing the fall shed, make it yours, like I said. But for me, it's like a full life overhaul just to feel really good and have that sacred structure in my life. And I will tell you that this all shouldn't be done at once also, because you really need to tend to yourself while you're doing it. If you're getting rid of a lot of things, donating or selling or whatever you're doing, if you're getting rid of a lot of things all at once, it is quite taxing emotionally. And I often will, when I'm going through my closet, I'll go through clothes that I'm getting ready to donate, and I'll say, like, thank you for being mine. I release you. And because I just like feel this emotional tie to things, I feel sad. Like, oh, that shirt, I used to at one time love that shirt, or that dress is the dress I used to wear to, whatever. And so it's very important to acknowledge these feelings, because it can leave you feeling almost empty afterward. And so I think it's important to care for yourself. I for sure will be drinking lots of like grief herbs during this time. So like linden and hawthorn together is a great pair for me as a tea, and just that warmth is very comforting. So go into this understanding that that feeling is very normal and should be expected, and that after that feeling is over, you are going to feel so much better and clearer and fresher. And also, we're not getting rid of things that we don't want to get rid of. We're getting rid of things that just aren't serving us anymore. You can go in and do the Marie Kondo thing. Like, is this sparking joy when I pick it up? So we're not just being like minimalist to be minimalist. We are clearing things out so that we can feel more spacious in our lives. Another physical space is your car. I gifted myself a membership for Christmas. I think it was last year, maybe the year before. I gifted myself a membership to the car wash. And so every Sunday I go to the car wash, I vacuum and clean out my car. And that started when I was doing one of my fall sheds, and it just stuck. So that's kind of an overview of the physical environment. That's a huge chunk of what's happening. And it's not just physical, like everything's connected. And this has a huge effect on your emotional, energetic, spiritual life as well. So the next section is digital spaces. This also might feel overwhelming, but again, take it one small thing at a time. I have an email that I like never use. It was from, when I was in high school or whatever. And it's just what I use for like spam stuff. And I didn't check it for a very long time, and I had like 700,000 emails in there. And so one of my fall sheds was me just like deleting all these emails, and it took forever. And now I keep up on it. Like at the end of every single month, I go in and like see if I need anything and just delete it all. And then I have been really good at keeping my personal email, my business email, everything very clear and organized, and trying to get down to 0 emails every single night. And that all started with the fall shed and were things that stuck and continued to be a part of my lifestyle and a part of my new identity. And then you can go in and do like an unsubscribe. I signed up for this thing called Unroll Me. And that's an app where you can like mass unsubscribe from emails that you're signed up for. So going through all of your email inboxes, clearing them out, organizing, going through desktop clutter, going through your downloads folder, going into apps on your phone and deleting apps that you're not using. Digital photos. This is a big one. There's many apps that you can use. I think mine's called like Swept or something like that, but just getting rid of like duplicate photos, old screenshots, nothing that you don't want to get rid of, but just stuff that's taking up space. And then also doing an unfollow detox. So on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, just going through and unfollowing things that are not aligned anymore, that you don't want to see anymore, that, maybe some random girl that you met in the bar in 2013 that you're still friends with on Instagram for some reason. All of these things, the photos, the, follows on Instagram that don't feel aligned, the emails in your inbox, these are all energetic cords that you're severing. And again, it might feel very emotionally and energetically draining on you as you're severing these cords. And so it's very good to be caring for yourself while you're doing this. The next section is your financial life. So looking at where we have financial leaks happening. So looking at subscriptions, recurring expenses, go in and audit all of these, and then go in and cancel any of these recurring payments that are happening that aren't serving you anymore. Look for places where you might automate payments that aren't already, that would make your life easier and that would, again, plug up the energetic leaks. Set up automatic savings and investment accounts. Like, do something kind for your future self now. This is all about creating new identities for ourselves. So if you don't already do that, there's no better time than right now. And then go in and list any unresolved financial stresses. So any unpaid invoices or money owed or debts that you're avoiding, and make a plan to start chipping away at them. Just that act of making the plan is such a big part of this fall shed, shedding old identities and shedding any like low-level subconscious anxiety that's nagging at you all the time. Reviewing your budget, review your income and evaluate what feels sustainable and nourishing and what it might be time to let go of. That's, I think, makes the most sense for any other entrepreneurs that are out there. That's, for me, something that I go in and I look at every single area where I am earning income and like, is this still aligned with what I want my life to be like? Just considering what's truly valuable to you so that you can financially release things that aren't truly supporting you in this season of your life. So number 4 on our list of 6. So far we've had our physical space, our digital space, and then our financial life. Number 4 is our social life and relationships. So for this, going in and doing a social inventory, making a list of the people that you talk to or hang out with regularly, people who are taking up space in your mind, even if you don't interact with them, and people you feel obligated to but not nourished by. And ask yourself, do I feel better or worse after interacting with this person? Do I feel seen, respected, inspired by this person? Or do I feel depleted or annoyed? Or do I feel like I've been performative when I've been with this person? Is this relationship aligned with who I am now or with a past identity that I am desiring to shed? So I actually did a couple of years ago let go of a longtime friendship while doing the life edit because I was asking myself these questions and I was like, wow, I feel pretty crappy after I interact with this person and I don't feel respected or inspired. And I really thought about it and I was like, I want to open up space for more aligned friendships. And this friendship is just like dragging on me all of the time. And I think that it's time to let go of it. But the life edit is not just about subtraction. It's also about identifying relationships that do feel deeply supportive and aligned with your evolution and making a plan to invest more energy into these people. So making a plan to reach out or schedule time together and actually following through and meeting up together. Or even just sending like a text of appreciation to that person. So there is that refinement, but there's also this nourishing of what you do feel really good with. And again, kind of dipping our toe back into the digital space, it's not just who you talk to, it's also who you're allowing influence from. And so again, going in and unfollowing or muting accounts that are triggering irritation or self-comparison or any type of energetic clutter in your life. Unsubscribing from podcasts or newsletters or YouTube channels that don't really resonate with you anymore. So number 5 on our list of categories is our time and our schedule. And this isn't just about decluttering your calendar. It's also about bringing the way that you spend your time into alignment with the life that you desire. So with this, you're going to want to just sit down and notice where in your schedule are you feeling rushed or resentful or overextended, and which recurring commitments just feel really heavy or you dread them or they just feel misaligned. Or noticing obligations that you said yes to out of guilt or habit and then making changes there. Like have integrity and follow through with your word, but also in the future, having a plan so that you're not saying yes to these things that aren't feeling aligned with your life. And where it makes sense to let these things fall by the wayside now, highly recommend that. Even just noticing where could you make your life easier. I've talked about one of my favorite books many times on the podcast, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And he talks about this thing called creating buffers in your life. And I literally think about this concept every single day. Basically, just how can I make a buffer for my future self? And buffers are intentional spaciousness built into your life so that you can protect your energy and just basically protect and support your future self and be prepared to absorb anything unexpected in your life. So they're just a structure that's going to allow more ease and peace in your life. And so examples of buffers are things like leaving enough time in between appointments so that you're not back to back with things. Financial buffers like a savings account, an emergency fund, overestimate your expenses. Finishing projects before the deadline so that there's time for refinement instead of just panicking up to the deadline. Saying no to extra commitments, even if you technically could fit them in, because you need to think about how your future self is actually going to feel. And I often will think of this like, I can't say yes to that because if I'm not showing up as my best self, I really should have just said no. Other things that I think of as buffers are like prepping your things ahead of time so you're not scrambling in the morning or even in the morning when I wake up. And I think, how can I make a buffer for myself right now this morning? And so I'll take all of my bags and everything that I'm taking to work out to the car, several hours before I have to leave so that when I do go to leave, it's already done. And I'm like, oh, my life feels so much more easeful right now. And again, it's just a great way to plug up those energetic leaks that we all have. Okay, number 6 on our list, last but not least, is health and fitness. So when we're auditing our health and fitness, we want to ask, where do I feel stagnant? Where do I feel inflamed? Where do I feel weak? What issues have I just been tolerating or normalizing in my life? And what basic habits are missing that would create immediate relief? And so this can be habits like baseline habit for me is circadian rhythm health, habits like meal prepping and the way that I'm eating, habits like going to the gym, hydrating, all of these things that are just like so basic, but can make such a huge difference in the way that we feel and show up in our everyday life. And for a fitness reframe, I like to think of like, instead of thinking, oh, I should work out more, like think about what type of movement makes me feel more alive, what makes me feel more strong and supported by my body, and what can I realistically do consistently? Like what can I do sustainably instead of on like January 1st going to the gym and trying to go balls to the wall and burning out and then like not going to the gym again until next January 1st, like starting out in a way that feels more sustainable for you so that you can shift your identity, shed the old identity. And speaking of that, thinking about the ways that you are identifying and letting go. So if you're saying stories to yourself like, I'm someone who struggles with consistency, or I know what to do, I just can't do it. That's a very disempowering identity loop. There's another book that I love called The Big Leap, and it's all about truly looking at your limiting beliefs that you hold on to and that keep you back and the identities that you hold on to in order to make a big leap into the life that you desire. On the topic of physical health, I'm actually kicking my fall shed off this year. So I'm calling this like Fall Shed 2.0. I'm kicking it off with an Ayurvedic reset. And this is the second time that I've gone through this Ayurvedic. It's a khichdi cleanse. Khichdi is a basmati rice and mung bean porridge with like different spices like cumin and fennel and coriander, turmeric. And so in Ayurveda, it's recommended to do this at least once a year during the fall, but then also potentially in the spring. And you obviously don't have to do this. The fall shed itself is completely on your terms, but I just thought I would share my experience. So as I said, it's a cleanse that's done in an Ayurvedic lifestyle in the fall and the spring. And Ayurveda doesn't view cleansing as like a trendy detox. It sees it more as this essential biological maintenance, kind of in the same way that we understand the importance of like an oil change for our car. And the main point here is that accumulation of what is called ama is inevitable in our lives today. And ama is anything that your body was not able to fully process or digest. And so because it was not eliminated, it becomes leftover residue within our body. And this can be physical, mental, emotional residue. And cleansing is how we release the buildup before it turns into disease. And so we have our physical ama, and this doesn't just mean like food sitting in your gut. It means like food that was too heavy, or cold foods, or highly processed food, or even food eaten in the wrong state. So if you're like stress eating, or if you're rushing around, your digestive system can't break it down properly. And so instead of becoming nutrients, it turns into waste byproducts that the body doesn't quite know what to do with. And so this residue may ferment or create gas or mucus, just like stagnation in our body. So this can lead to things like inflammation, sluggish metabolism, fatigue, also things like skin issues. And so that's our physical ama. And then our emotional or mental ama is unprocessed experience. So suppressed emotions, overconsumption of information without integration. So lots of scrolling, being chronically online, constantly listening to podcasts. So basically just constant stimulation without any stillness or solitude in our life. And so our mind becomes congested in the same way that our physical body does. And so the cleanse or reset is a 3-phase process, and it can be short or it can be longer. And I'm doing a 21-day, like 3 weeks basically. And so in this, we've got the pre-cleanse phase where you gradually reduce heavy or stimulating foods, caffeine, sugar, all the things to prepare your body. And then in the active cleanse stage, you eat very simple, warm, easily digestible meals like the khichdi. And this allows your digestive fire to burn accumulated toxins instead of constantly processing new input. And at the same time, you're reducing your sensory stimulation to support basically your mental digestive fire to be able to burn off all of that stagnation. And then finally, the third week is the rebuild phase. So you slowly introduce nourishing foods and tonics and herbs that rebuild your tissue, and really focusing on strengthening vitality and establishing new rhythms that are in alignment with this next chapter of your year. And like I said, this is not the first time I've done it. I first did it last fall. It was guided, and I highly recommend seeking out an Ayurvedic practitioner to work through this with, because it's not really something that you go into, or you don't want to go into it without understanding the why and the deeper meaning behind it all. And it's not like how we think of cleansing in our Western pop wellness culture, like white knuckling through a fast to punish your body. I was so grateful for the guide that I had through this process. I was given so much education. I would share her with you, but she's not doing it anymore. So definitely seek somebody out. I will share an article from Banyan Botanicals that I think is so lovely and might help you ease into something like this if it feels interesting or appropriate to you. So that has really become a big part of the beginning of my fall shed. Because with this, I'm working on changing the physiology, the dopamine patterns, because I'm also abstaining from all podcasts, all of that excess sensory input while I'm doing this. So I am changing my dopamine patterns, and then my nervous system, my digestion, all these systems that drive decisions and habits and identity. And so I really like going through this process in addition to the fall shed. All of this to say, I want you to understand this is not about perfection. It is not about getting your life together before January 1st. It's about returning to your true essence and just refining your life down to what's truly supportive and nourishing, what's aligned both physically as well as mentally, emotionally, financially, relationally. all of the things. So don't go into this like I have to fix myself. It's more about just this refinement to your true essence. So again, our 4 topics that we went through, that we did our fall shed, were our physical environment, our digital spaces, our financial space, our social life and relationships, our time and our schedule, and finally, health and fitness. That was a lot. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. The intention here is to inspire. If you just take one little thing that we learned today, you are going to feel so good. If this was valuable to you, I would so greatly appreciate, first of all, if you would either leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, or email me, let me know you're listening. But also I would love if you would share this with somebody who you know, who you also think would find value. It really helps for me to grow the podcast. And I will be back next week. We're going to be talking a little bit more about skincare next week. So I can't wait. I hope you have a beautiful week. And until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels @stratumaesthetics.